Hey, Curly Freckles. Do you remember me at all? Curly Freckles. Hey, Curly Freckles. Hi. Remember me? Curly Freckles. Do you remember me? Not really. If she did, she doesn't really care. Well, maybe. Yeah, I'd love to give you a fist bump. You want to give me a fist bump? You want to give me a fist bump, baby? Curly Freckles. Remember me? Do I smell familiar? Do I smell familiar? Huh? God, she's huge. What are you thinking? What are you thinking, Curly Freckles? When she was a year old, she had curly hair on her back, but she no longer has that. But they all look very strong and happy and healthy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're all here. She's a good mom. And I think Robotommy's over in the next paddock, but I could be wrong. Anyway, so for those of you who get all sentimental about pigs, they don't get sentimental about us. They're using us to protect and preserve their species. And there's plenty of them. So I arrived at the farm and the dogs greeted me. And they were nowhere near their pasture, and I looked out and there's a bunch of sheep in the cow pasture, and there's only one way to get them back where I want them, and that is to bait them with some grain. In order to do that, I gotta go back to the barn, so I locked the dogs into the sheep pasture so they could finish their dinner. I thought maybe I could get the sheep's attention with some dog food because I had it right there, but that didn't work, so I'm gonna have to get a bucket and then round them up and lead them in, and that's gonna be complicated. We'll see how it works, because I'm trying to keep the dogs in when I bring the sheep in. I don't want the dogs to block the sheep. I don't want the dogs to get loose again. So yeah, we have an emergency. It's been the week. The ducks disappeared, and then the sheep have left. They're happily grazing, and so the good news is the grass is starting to grow, so we can start moving them around pretty soon. There's something about loose animals, it just makes you feel alive, and it's horrible. It's like a horrible feeling, but it's like absolute 100% focus on just figuring shit out, solving the problem. And one of the problems I have is that the cows and the steers are in the same field as the sheep. So using a bucket of grain to lure the sheep also lures the cows. So if I'm on this side of this fence with the bucket, and I can get the sheep to follow me down to the gate, and we'll see if I can get the sheep in without the cows. But if I can actually get Cody the steer / half a bull in with the sheep, that would actually solve one of our problems. So we'll try it out. And of course, Stewie the donkey is here, and he's gonna complicate things. Hey Stewie, sorry, can't talk. Can't talk, Stewie. I gotta focus on sheep. Sheep! Gotta put the camera down. The sheep don't like crossing water, and it's a little wet there. Sheep! 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 Come on! Come on! I wonder... No, that's not what I want. I don't want to take them in that gate. Hey, hey, hey! You be nice to my sheep! Shuka Smuka. bring them in here, then I have to separate them from Ann's 3 sheep. What is another way I could do it? What is another way I could do it? I could take them in the side gate. That might be the way to go. We got some sheep over there. Dogs are here. I'm thinking I could take the sheep to the corner gate, which means taking them near the road. But I think I can lead them. See how I can do it. So I decided I can go to the far gate a lot easier and more safely, and then I can pick up the other sheep that didn't quite follow in. The only thing is the grazing is pretty good here and they keep stopping. Sheep, 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 sheep. Oh, no you don't. Sheep, 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 sheep. So this way the cows, and I turn the cow's fence on just in case some of the young ones go like, I want that grain. Because we don't give them grain, we just use grain for bait. Come on, sheep, 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 sheep. But the cows are following along because they like grain. Come on. Come on. Sheep, sheep. Sheep, sheep, sheep. And here comes Split Ear. Hey, Split Ear, you know what's good for you. Oh, it tastes good anyway, it's not good for you. And they act like crack addicts with it. It's crazy. Sheep, 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 sheep. Oh, I gotta focus on them. Come on, sheep, 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 sheep. Cows are following. The sheep are sort of following. We've lost a few of them back there. Here comes Cory, thank God. All right, we got all the sheep back. We got the dogs back, and Luna, of course, started chewing the bucket. I did give the sheep, come on, honey, like, do you have to chew everything? Stop. Stop. Don't swallow that. Get that out of your mouth. Come on. Did you swallow that plastic? Luna. No. You just swallowed plastic. I hope you poop it out, and I hope it doesn't kill you. Jeez. Oh, what an afternoon. What an afternoon. I arrived at the farm, and I was greeted in the driveway behind the barn by my dogs. Like, what are you doing out? The staple that held the clip for the gate pulled out of the post. And the dogs and the sheep went out. And so I gotta have a second clip, and I gotta have a better staple in the post. So that's now, with Cory's help, I was able to get all the sheep in, and I didn't count them. I should probably count them, but every time I try to count the sheep, it's like ridiculous. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Can't do it. I cannot do it. Unless they're walking by in single file, can't do it. I'm going to assume we have all of them, unless we find one wandering around. And Cory and his dog Junie will discover if that is the case. So, but par for the course on Friday afternoon, and you never know in farming when you're going to come upon a complete disaster, but it could have been a lot worse, and they were not out on the road, and it is time, almost time, to start moving the animals and rotating them on the pasture so we can let this pasture really regenerate and get going, and hopefully it will all work out better than we can possibly imagine. Peace, love, and grooviness. Well, the lesson this week seems to be expect the unexpected and trust that when everything seems like you got it under control, something unexpected will happen to challenge your beliefs, to challenge your ability to keep your stuff together, to challenge your patience, to challenge your resourcefulness, to challenge all the things that continually need to be challenged so that we can grow, so that we can become stronger, so that we can solve problems. And I think that's another area where farming and spirituality and relationships all kind of come together. When the unexpected happens, when something happens out of the blue, when the world gets interrupted, whether it's something simple and small like the ducks disappearing and then returning, there's place for prayers, help, thanks, wow. Quoting Anne Lamott, by the way, from her book, Help, Thanks, Wow. All about prayer. For me, and my biggest challenge in relationships has been when I think everything's fine and then someone says, hey, you're doing this to me, or whatever. Something comes out of the blue that I didn't expect, and I thought I was doing everything right, and all of a sudden I find out I'm doing everything wrong. And so that is one of my patterns in life that shows up in farming as well. I think, I've got it all together. Been feeding the dogs, taking care of the sheep, I'm checking everything every day, and then boom, a little piece of hardware fails and the sheep and the dogs are loose, and thank God the dogs didn't end up on the roads. Thank God the sheep didn't end up on the road. So in reflecting on the week, and we also had a moment, I think it was a Wednesday morning, where one of the neighbors across the street from the sheep paddock, which is behind me as I'm making this video, called Ann, the landowner, and said, hey, one of the sheep dogs is attacking one of the sheep. And what Spike does sometimes, and I've been able to catch him a few times and correct him, and he stops immediately, but he and Luna play rough. And when he's feeling playful, he will grab a sheep's wool on their butt. And he does not seem to do any lasting damage. And anytime I want to be able to catch him doing it and yell at him, no, right? That's the thing that they get. They get no, and they get the sound, which they hate. They don't like that, but they get it. I don't use it for anything else. So when things happen, we have to be prepared for the fact that they're going to happen. And we have to find ways to get our neurology back into a state of resourcefulness. Yesterday, when Cory showed up, he showed up at the perfect time. And I really needed another person to go behind the sheep. And he had Junie, his dog, on the leash. And so she was under control. And she walked with him behind the sheep. And I led the sheep. And then when we got to the corner where I was going to let the sheep in, unfortunately, all the sheep that I'd already gotten back into the pasture now wanted to come out. So I was like, that's when I kind of lost it. I had held it together until that point, and then I kind of lost it. And then Cory was like, hey, we got the netting, the electric netting, a bunch of rolls of electric netting were right there in that corner. And he's like, let's set those up. So he kind of formed a moving corral for the sheep, which gave me time to set up one of the nets, which kind of blocked them in one direction. And then I was able to set up another net. So we actually made a corral around where the sheep on the outside of the pasture were. Then it didn't matter if we opened the gate and the ones in the pasture got out, because they're all going back in together, and the sheep want to be together. The sheep want to be together. So using the animals' characteristics to our advantage, knowing the sheep want to go together makes it easier to not worry too much about the ones that aren't under our immediate control, because they all want to be together. So to get the leaders, boom. So I was able to do that. And the lesson again, over and over again for me in farming, as in life, as in relationships, as in creative endeavors, the unexpected can often just take the wind out of our sails. But to have tools like to remember the breath, to remember to ground ourselves, to remember to try to just take a moment and focus on asking ourselves good questions. Like at one point I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And at one point I had plan A, which was to lead the sheep kind of back to a corner gate, but then the cows wanted to guard that land. So I was like, okay, that's not going to work. So plan B was like, well, I could let the sheep into the barnyard pasture where the donkey and Ann's three sheep are. But I was like, no, then I'd have to separate those sheep from my sheep. And that was a big job the last time we did it. So, okay, that didn't work. So the third idea was, okay, I could lead them around the barn, since they can go under the cow fence. I can lead them around the barn, down the driveway, and to the corner gate, but that would lead them to the road. And then like the fourth idea was like, oh, I could lead them the entire other way to the farthest gate available, but I could lead them outside the cow pasture, and there'd be less distractions and less danger. And that would give me more time to think about, okay, what's the next step? How do I get them in that gate? So the message, the Sunday message, the nugget of what I learned this week is to continue to cultivate non-attachment to the way we think things are supposed to be. Sometimes the ducks disappear. Sometimes a predator gets them. I was lucky. The ducks came back. And then they left the next day again. And I'm like, okay, they have to now stay in some kind of pen or container until I can figure out a better solution. Okay, so fine. So every step of the way, there are life's challenges, what other people call problems. We all have problems. The rich have problems. The poor have problems. The old and the young. We all have challenges. Let's not call them problems anymore. Let's call them challenges. Opportunities for growth, people. So this week, in your meditation, in your practice of becoming a human, expect the unexpected. And when it happens, just say, hey, I was waiting for you. And then begin to ask yourself empowering questions like, okay, how can we solve this? What are some solutions? What are some ways we can use this? And this is something the ancient Stoics talked about all the time. So it's nothing new. But staying resourceful is the key. And sometimes it's hard to do alone. And I am so grateful for my friend Cory and for all the people that have shown up in this project. I'm grateful for my dad. I'm grateful for the other people here on this farm who have all been very supportive. I'm grateful for my neighbors. I'm filled with gratitude for the people that have stepped up and said, yeah, you may be crazy, but I'll help you anyway. So this week, expect the unexpected. And when it shows up, welcome it, use it, play with it, And I know you will get through it, because the only way out is through. And the resources will show up when you most need them. The people you most need will show up, even if it seems like they're not helping. They might actually be helping you in some shape or form. You just don't maybe know it. So, sending out prayers of gratitude to the people in our lives who are there when we need help. And sending out gratitude to the people in our lives who cause us to be more self-reliant and resilient than we ever thought possible. And to the situations in our life that cause us to be self-reliant and resilient. A shout out, a prayer, a thought, a kindness towards ourselves as well, for being willing to work on ourselves, for being willing to work on relationships, for being willing to work on finding ways to do our farming, our businesses, our joy, our pleasures better. And a prayer of gratitude for all the musicians in the world who make music even though they're not being paid, who make great music even though nobody's listening. To all the musicians, to the farmers, to the artists, to the caregivers, to the ministers, to the social workers, to the nurses and doctors, to all the people that keep us healthy and who are there willing and ready to serve and to help us when the time comes. Peace, love, grooviness. That's it for now. Amen. And here is this week's version of Blackbirds Are Back, and I got a lot more Blackbird recordings as well this week, and I think it's pretty close to being done. It might need a few little tweaks, but I'm hoping to release it in the coming week. And that's it for now. Peace, love, grooviness. The grass is starting to grow. We've had a few nice days and we've had a few cloudy days. We're going to have some variable March weather. We're halfway through. The first day of spring is coming up this week. We have in a couple of weeks a full, total, and complete eclipse of the sun in our area. So a lot's happening. Peace, love, grooviness. Here's the song. Blackbirds are back and they're singing in the trees. They're singing in the trees about the breeze. Blackbirds are back and they're singing in the trees. They're singing in the trees about the breeze. The blackbirds seem to know just how to melt the snow and to get the sun to stay. This may come as a shock, but they each must leave the flock and stake out their territory. Blackbirds are back and they're singing in the trees. They're singing in the trees about the breeze. Blackbirds are back and they're singing in the trees. They're singing in the trees about the breeze. The grass is turning green in patches by the road, and though it's cool, it isn't cold. And all the deer I've seen are so hungry for the green that it makes them rather bold. Blackbirds are back and they're singing in the trees. They're singing in the trees about the breeze. Blackbirds are back and they're singing in the trees. They're singing in the trees about the breeze. When the peepers start to sing, it's so encouraging, 'cause then you know it's really spring. When the peepers start their song, you know it won't be long till you'll be mowing your front lawn. Blackbirds are back and they're singing in the trees. They're singing in the trees about the breeze. Blackbirds are back and they're singing in the trees. They're singing in the trees about the breeze. Blackbirds are back and they're singing in the trees. They're singing in the trees about the breeze. Blackbirds are back and they're singing in the trees. They're singing in the trees about the breeze. Blackbirds are back and they're singing in the trees. They're singing in the trees about the breeze. Blackbirds are back and they're singing in the trees. They're singing in the trees about the breeze. Blackbirds are back and they're singing in the trees. Hey Luna, how's it going? How's it going? You having a good morning? You having a good morning being a livestock guardian dog, huh? Looking for stuff? Looking for holes to dig, animals to root out of their burrows? And is Spike doing what Spike is supposed to do? And the red-winged blackbirds. Red-winged blackbirds are doing what they're supposed to be doing so that I can use them in my music video. All right, hope you liked the song, and if you didn't, that's okay too. Remember, if you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe. Please give this a thumbs up. Please leave a comment below. I live for your comments because I spend most of my time alone, and it's like knowing you guys are out there helps me so much, and I appreciate it. I can't even put it into words. And that's it for now. Peace, love, grooviness. Oh, and one last thing. It was really great to see my former sow, Curly Freckles, who now belongs to my friends Brian and Lorraine. And she's doing really well. She's got 6 piglets, and it was great the other day to stop by and see her before all the craziness happened with the sheep getting loose and stuff. So I'm glad that I decided to let go of the pig operation and focus on the sheep and the music and the dogs and the farm church. I think and my dad. And that's kind of enough for the moment. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm going to go take care of the dogs and the sheep and put another latch on that gate. And happy Saturday, happy Sunday, happy wonderful 3rd week of March coming up. Boom. Are you gonna poop? Yep, he's gonna poop. There's my favorite tree. The killdeers are back. I wonder if you use an S for plural of the killdeers, or if you call it plural of killdeer. I think there's more than one of them, so you would call them killdeers. They're not deer, they're killdeers.